June 14th, 2015, a chilling Facebook post appears on Dee Dee Blanchard's account. "That bitch is dead." Friends who saw it were in shock. That doesn't sound like Dee Dee, a devoted mother who cared for her disabled daughter. What they didn't know was that Dee Dee was already dead, stabbed to death in her bedroom, and the person posting was her daughter, Gypsy Rose. They say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we should fear. This is true and twisted, where family bonds become deadly betrayals. The woman at the center of this story is Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard, a mother who appeared to be the picture of selfless devotion. For years, she cared for her severely disabled daughter, Gypsy Rose, who suffered from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, vision problems, hearing loss, and developmental delays that left her with the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. What makes this case so twisted is that none of it was true. Gypsy Rose was a healthy young woman who had been imprisoned by her own mother's lies, and when she finally found a way to escape. Dee Dee Blanchard seemed to be the most devoted mother anyone had ever seen. She lived in Springfield, Missouri, with her daughter Gypsy Rose in a pink house that had been built for them by Habitat for Humanity after they lost everything in Hurricane Katrina. Gypsy Rose appeared to be a tragic figure, a young woman confined to a wheelchair, bald from chemotherapy treatments, breathing through a tracheostomy tube, and fed through a feeding tube. Dee Dee told everyone that her daughter suffered from multiple conditions, including leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, vision and hearing problems, and developmental delays. From the outside, they seemed like the perfect example of a mother's unconditional love. Dee Dee had devoted her entire life for her sick daughter. They received donations, free trips to Disney World, and were beloved by their community for their inspiring story. But beneath this heartwarming facade, something sinister was happening. Dee Dee wasn't a devoted mother. She was systematically abusing her daughter through a condition now known as factitious disorder, imposed on another, formerly called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. The truth about Gypsy Rose was shocking. She could walk, run, and had normal intelligence. She had never had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, or any of the other conditions her mother claimed. The wheelchair, the feeding tubes, the medications, all of it was unnecessary medical abuse orchestrated by Dee Dee. For over 20 years, Dee Dee had convinced doctors to perform unnecessary surgeries, prescribe powerful medications, and subject Gypsy to painful medical procedures. She shaved Gypsy's head to simulate hair loss from chemotherapy she wasn't receiving. She forced her to use a wheelchair and speak in a childlike voice. The abuse went far beyond medical manipulation. Dee Dee kept Gypsy isolated from the outside world, controlling her life. She told Gypsy that she was much younger than her actual age, claiming she was born in 1995 when she was actually born in 1991. Gypsy wasn't allowed to attend school, make friends, or have any independence. Later in an interview, she revealed that for 14 years she was unsure of her real age. But as Gypsy grew older, she began to question her mother's control and started secretly accessing the internet. It was online that she would meet the person who would change everything, Nicholas Godejohn. Nicholas Godejohn was a 26-year-old man from Wisconsin who met Gypsy in 2012 through a Christian dating website. Gypsy was using the internet secretly when her mother wasn't watching, desperately seeking connection with the outside world. Their online relationship developed over several years, with Gypsy confiding in Nicholas about her true situation. She revealed that she wasn't actually disabled, that her mother had been lying about her medical conditions, and that she was being held prisoner in her own home. Nicholas had his own psychological issues, including autism spectrum disorder and a fascination with violent fantasies. When Gypsy began expressing her desperation to escape her mother's control, Nicholas offered what seemed like the only solution: murder. The couple began planning Dee Dee's death in detail. they discussed different methods and scenarios, with Nicholas becoming increasingly committed to the idea of killing Dee Dee to rescue Gypsy from her situation. In 2014, Gypsy Rose confided to 23-year-old neighbor Alea Woodmansee that she and Godejohn had discussed eloping. Woodmansee tried to talk her out of it, still thinking Gypsy Rose was too young and possibly being taken advantage of by a sexual predator. She considered her plans just fantasies and dreams, and nothing like this would ever really take place. Despite Dee Dee's efforts to prevent her from using the internet, which went as far as allegedly destroying her daughter's phone and laptop, Gypsy maintained contact with Woodmansee, who saved printouts of her posts until 2014. On June 9, 2015, Nicholas traveled from Wisconsin to Springfield, Missouri to carry out their plan. Gypsy let him into the house while Dee Dee was sleeping, providing him with gloves, duct tape, and a knife. According to court testimony, Nicholas went into Dee Dee's bedroom and stabbed her 17 times to death while she slept.
I've spent a couple of days with you now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't strike me as someone who's capable of planning a murder.
Well, I mean, my situation was very centered around my circumstances. So I can honestly say I would have never committed that crime had I not been pushed to the brink where I really just snapped.
Gypsy waited in another room, listening to the sounds of her mother being murdered. Afterward, they stole more than $4,400 in cash. After the murder, Gypsy and Nicholas fled to a motel where they slept together. Meanwhile, Gypsy posted those disturbing messages on Dee Dee's Facebook account, perhaps as a way of announcing her newfound freedom to the world. The Facebook posts immediately alarmed friends and family, who called police for a welfare check. When officers arrived at the Blanchard home on June 14, 2015, they found Dee Dee's body in her bedroom and no sign of Gypsy. Initially, police treated this as a missing person case, believing that the disabled young woman had been kidnapped by whoever had killed her mother. An Amber Alert was issued for Gypsy, described as a disabled woman who needed constant medical care, but investigators soon discovered the truth. Woodmansee told police what she knew about Gypsy Rose and her secret boyfriend. She showed them the printouts she had saved, which included his name. They traced the Facebook posts to Gypsy's location and found her with Nicholas at a motel in Wisconsin. When they were arrested, the complex reality of the case began to emerge. During questioning, the full extent of Dee Dee's abuse became clear. Medical records revealed the pattern of unnecessary treatments and procedures. Gypsy's actual medical records showed she was healthy and had normal intelligence. The disabled young woman police had been searching for didn't exist.
Sometimes I'm asked, hey, if you can go back to this point in your life, what would you do different? And I say, I wouldn't go back to right before the murder. I'd go back to when I was like little, like 5 years old, and tell one of my family members, I don't think that mommy is okay. I don't think she's being honest.
Gypsy had clearly participated in planning her mother's murder, but she had also been the victim of decades of systematic abuse. Nicholas Godejohn was charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action. His defense argued that his autism and other mental health issues made him susceptible to Gypsy's influence, but prosecutors maintained that he was the one who actually committed the killing. In November 2018, Nicholas was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In July 2016, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for a 10-year prison sentence. The plea deal reflected the recognition that while she had participated in planning the murder, she had also been a victim of severe long-term abuse. During her sentencing, Gypsy spoke publicly about the abuse she had endured and expressed remorse for her mother's death. She acknowledged that murder wasn't the right solution, but she had felt trapped with no other way out. The case sparked widespread discussion about the complexities of abuse, victimhood, and justice. Many people struggled with how to view Gypsy. Was she a cold-blooded killer or a desperate abuse victim? Gypsy served her sentence at Chillicothe Correctional Center in Missouri, where she reportedly thrived for the first time in her life. She was able to get her GED, make friends, and experience the independence that had been denied to her for so long. On December 28, 2023, Gypsy Rose Blanchard was released from prison on parole after serving approximately 8 years of her 10-year sentence. Her release was met with significant media attention as the case had gained widespread notoriety through documentaries, TV shows, and podcasts. The case has been featured in numerous documentaries, including HBO's Mommy Dead and Dearest and dramatized series The Act. These productions helped bring attention to the rare but devastating condition of factitious disorder imposed on another. The Gypsy Rose Blanchard case remains one of the most complex and troubling examples of how family abuse can lead to desperate and tragic outcomes. Behind every perfect family portrait lies a secret waiting to explode. If you'd like to explore more dark and twisted stories, hit that subscribe button and join us as we uncover the truth behind the world's most haunting family betrayals. Today, Gypsy Rose is attempting to build a new life outside of prison, finally free from the control that defined her first 2 decades. The case continues to raise difficult questions about justice, victimhood, and the lengths people will go to escape abuse. Remember her story, a young woman so desperate to escape her mother's control that murder seemed like her only option. And remember that sometimes the most dangerous prisons are the ones built by the people who claim to love us most.